And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood.
Incredible.
Moorish Cosa Nostra, industrious acts. I cracked the code of the Vision, these are actual facts. Angels and demons, Illuminati and Judas goats. Elite minds of our own who turn cutthroat. Espionage and betrayal, 30 pieces of silver. Merovingian bloodlines and boule house niggas. Who would've figured we'd be sleeping with the enemy? Let us rise and give honors to Noble Drew Ali. We used to say, for I am you and you are me. Now the reaper's your brother's keeper, he's the devil's seed. Cloud chasing and deceive, he abandoned the creed. Desire was his vice, but envy his disease. A fistful of dollars led him to his demise. Front page, it was tragic, a bloody homicide. What profits man if he gains the world but loses his soul? Feel the wrath of Allah, he was struck sevenfold. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers, sheiks and amirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers, sheiks and amirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. The seat of power lacks dominion when sultans depart, but immortal virtue shall remain within the people's hearts. True successors are often overlooked and crucified. Sheikh Emilia did his best to exercise his fire. Opposition from all sides forced him underground, exiled from his post but loyal to his crown. He stood his ground, but no one man can defeat the mob. He transitioned in silent historic landmarks. We came as we are, and we are as we came. We came, saw, and we conquered. MAG shall remain. These are divine instructions. Let us unite the nations. Heavenly mandates, self-determination, treaties, consortiums, covenants, holy and divine. Social duties and obligations, proclamation signed. Theocratic, supreme laws, organic design. Creative faith, deliver justice in due time.
You raise the cowards, you raise the imbeciles, you raise the good for nothings. If you cannot do what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die. Can we do it? We can do it. Because any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Let me say that again. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Britain under William Pitt, Earl of Chatham did it. America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you had better die.
Peace and love, family. Want to rise upon the seven once again and give all praises to the great God Allah and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. I give honors to my Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. I give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought us to make us a nation. I want to also extend honors to our beloved brother Marcus Mosai Garvey L., whom we refer to as the Noble Harbinger.
one who actually was a forerunner of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in this new era in time. He was one who told our people, up you mighty race of people, and accomplish that in which you will. He also told us, that we have went from organization unto organization, but to paraphrase that, going from organization unto organization should lead us up into becoming government. Our brother Elijah Muhammad, known to us within our special records as Brother Elijah Poole Bay, he also alluded to a government coming behind him. And this is removing all the mystery and the mysticism, so to speak, into where our people won't come into a state of dealing with spookism when we're thinking along these lines. But our brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, made a statement in relation, in the theology of time, to a new ruler coming behind him, a new ruler in relation to dealing with government, a new teaching and a new teacher. These are key points in relation to dealing with what our brother, demonstrated. We don't want anyone to take us out of context, but we know that within the doctrines, of the NOI, they are strict in teaching against spookism. So if in fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is speaking in a strict way against spookism, and you look into our special records, here in the Moorish paradigm, where we know that the brother spoke on a government. He spoke of a new ruler, a new teacher, and a new teaching. These are key points that I would like to get to. I want to give honors, to the brother, Minister Farrakhan, for the measure we see him demonstrate recently. I was one of the Moors, who felt that he could have done more as far as putting light on the paradigm. However, what I seen, over time is that it was not that brother's job to do the job that we are called to do in this new era in time. That's just being straightforward and honest. He did his job, and his job was to interpret the message that his teacher brought to him under that particular paradigm. Prophet Noble Drew Ali instructed the Moors that the Moors would come into their own in the year 2000. In our hadiths or oral statements, the Moors have preserved well, despite the shortcomings of conflict and confusion or whatever. Moors have preserved well, the oral statements of our holy prophet, and that's why we continue that same special methodology under the Moorish American government within our Department of Library of Archives and Wisdom. We are here to preserve the record. We are here to set the record straight and make plain the truth to our people. So by any means are we not trying to deal with causing any confusion, because under Act 5 of our divine constitution and bylaws, we don't seek to cause confusion with organizations, and nor do we provoke organizations to, cause confusion within the midst of our ranks and so forth and so on. But nevertheless, looking at things as they are and getting outside of the spookism and dogmatism, like I said, Brother Marcus Mosai Garvey L spoke on government, the desire, the intent of our people being government. Our brother Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke on government, and our beloved brother Elijah Poole Bay also spoke on government. And all of these special leaders spoke on government coming from amidst their people. They instructed their people that they were teaching. And within neither one of the lineages of these people that we find our people now trying to demonstrate self-determination. Those who are trying to build government. In fact, most people run from this special subject matter when we speak of government. So we'll touch on a few of those things in a minute. But without further ado or delay, what I want to do right now, I want to let our Moorish kin hear some special measures from the brother Farrakhan that he made in the past. And this is why, we got to give him honors for these are special honorable mentions in relation to dealing with Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the work of the Moors, and this most recent broadcast, which I was participating in today, that was sent to me by my brother, good brother Elamine Muhammad. For those of you who don't know who he is, you'll see him here on YouTube somewhat, but mostly in the traffic of Facebook. He's that good brother that's always wearing the fez as the NOI used to wear it, with the crescent on it and so forth and so on. And we've been dialoguing. As a matter of fact, we have a dialogue right here in my platform dealing with bridging the gaps. So I want to make this a special video, be part and partial of that same work. This is not a measure to discredit or mar or disrespect, the brother Farrakhan, disrespect, any particular one that came forth. So I was sitting there, although they didn't have in the Zoom meeting showing the people, because you want the main speaker to be in view of the audience. And Islam, brother Sunlight Bay, gratitude. But I was most definitely present, and he presently could see everybody that was on this panel. I came in a little later after it had started because I got the link a little later. I wish I'd have been able to come in and actually give a measure. Perchance, I may be able to come forth and speak. Because in this new era and time, family, there was a drawing in regards to dealing with, is a drawing in regards to people dealing with, if you're dealing with the Islamic world, Mahdi, or rightly guided one. The NOI believe that Mahdi was Master Farad Muhammad. But going a step further, understanding that, rightly guided one in this new era in time has an application of where I say that there's to be a rightly guided one to come from amongst the Moors that is willing to unite with all the other rightly guided ones, of whatever school of thought they may come forth from. Hence there may be a rightly guided that is from the NOI, but that rightly guided is willing to sit down and have a meeting of the minds with the rightly guided of all the other rightly guided. And perchance there be a rightly guided one who come forth from the Nuwabians, a rightly guided one coming forth from our Hebrew family in that paradigm, rightly guided one, coming from amongst the nation of gods and earths, a rightly guided one from the new Black Panther Party, rightly guided ones here, there, and everywhere. Each one teach one, and even though all may reach one. You see? So we're talking about rightly guided ones in all actuality coming from all these special paradigms. That is what we see. In order for there to be some consortium amongst our people to come together. And for those of you who are not familiar with consortium has to do with putting aside all petty differences, all conflict, all beef, gripes, and suggestions, that the nations as a whole may be able to benefit from our unity. You see? And it has never been my position to be in opposition to my family at any degree. Even though, and it seems funny because it was always this way, even when it came to me as a young man. In most cases, when I got in the midst of a deal to try to separate, those from fighting or struggling with each other or quarreling with each other from the struggle, I ended up being headlong in the quarrel. And seemed like that in special measure follows me even all the way up into the conscious community. Because all I want to see is my people one, because I know our oneness will make us free. But when I come out here with this love for my family, to build with my family along the lines of dealing with oneness, oftentimes it's misconstrued as one is out to attack them. I want to let you know, family, I'm not your enemy. I'm not here to attack you. I say that to anybody from the MST of a Moorish Science Temple to the Nation of Islam, to the Nuwabians, to, every group I named already, 5%, whoever and wherever you are, I am not the one that is coming to attack you and tear down what it is, what you believe. But my years of research, family, caused me to look at where did we go wrong. And so I addressed those special points on where we went wrong. And not just dwell solely on where we went wrong, pardon self, but going into a measure in relation to dealing with how we can correct, these special measures that have caused demarcation and division amongst our people. That's the goal. But most of our people, after seeing the things that have taken place, would rather sweep things under the rug rather than address these things and go beyond and past these things. And we learned that from being under the auspices of the European, because that's what they've done for years when it comes to our people. They like to sweep slavery, suffering, and oppression that our people went through under the rug and just think that, all right, it's all good and well, and still persist in the same activity that was demonstrated. Sadly to say, dealing with the teachings of Frantz Fanon in The Wretched of the Earth, this is how we have begun to act. We are beginning to adopt the ways, the acts and the deeds of the oppressor. And so we like to sweep things under the rug, so to speak, and just move past them without correcting, what is taking place. And this is why it's so hard for us to remove the cancer of division. This is so hard for us to remove, the cancer, of hatred, envy, jealousy, and everything else that we have in our ranks. So we're not here to address all of those things, but we're saying that we have to have the conversation, family. We have to have courage enough to be able to speak with each other. A lot of wars and conflict, could have been resolved if people would sit down and converse with each other, as opposed to being in opposition to each other. See, I'm not here to even promote, ideology, this one over the other. I'm just drawing with my family, to bring about some peace, and I get on the front line for that, because that's what we need. We need peace. We can't say that we follow doctrines of peace and teachings of peace, but when it comes down to actually making peace and application, for some reason, we all become dumbfounded. And I'm talking about the greatest of this so-called scholarship that is amongst us now, that have gained prominence as a result of social media, as well as going back into the past with leadership that's been here for years. If our peace doesn't govern our ability to sit down, and build with each other, intelligently, within an intelligent tone, then do we really have peace? This is the case, in reference to dealing with the measure that we would have to ask ourselves, right? Do we have peace? Do we truly believe that we have peace? Because every nation, in order to be a nation, according to the guidelines of the family of nation, has to be a peace-loving nation. You see? So without further ado or delay, I'm going to pull these measures up, and a lot of these things have already been put out there. So we want to give honor to those who have facilitated these special recordings, per YouTube. And I'm going to let you see this, and then I'm going to go into the measure that I was just sitting in an hour or two ago when the minister was live, and I was on the panel. I'm going to let you hear this right here.
Like the colonists to know the true our started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists.
Shouts out to Moorish 720.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved Marcus Garvey, respected and honored Marcus Garvey, and bid his followers to respect and honor Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey as the forerunners to what we are doing right now. And I don't think there's anything more honorable than that a man will say that Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali blazed a trail and were forerunners.
Islam to all the Moors. And let us take a moment to say that we did reach a watershed moment at Savior's Day. 2014. Did you see that speech?
No, I didn't.
It's a speech worth watching because the Moors have been kicking up a lot of dust.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at Noble Drew Ali. Here's a man that died a young man. Noble Drew Ali. He lived from 1886 to 1929. I salute my brother. He's the first man to bring Islam to us in the way he tried to bring it. I thank him. Thank Allah for him.
So now with the internet and Facebook and social network, here come back the Moors and their teachings and all of that. So this Sunday, a couple Sundays ago, Minister Farrakhan, he did something that had never been done by a Nation of Islam leader. He put Noble Drew Ali's picture up on a big mural of all the great black leaders, and he gave him credit as being the man that is teaching Islam in America before anybody else. That's Minister Farrakhan said this. He said, as it say in words, to paraphrase it, that this man was teaching Islam here ahead of everybody else. That means ahead of Master Farrakhan Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad, of which in the Nation of Islam you are taught under the strict religious blinder or binder that no Islam was here before Farrakhan and Elijah. No knowledge was here before Farrakhan and Elijah. No disrespect, because I love me some Master Farrakhan Muhammad, but there was some knowledge and some organizing here before Master Farrakhan Muhammad and Elijah. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan acknowledged that and affirmed that and praised Nation of Islam leader Minister Farrakhan, praised Noble Drew Ali, and praised the Moorish movement.
There was people before he came that belonged to the Moorish Americans by Noble Drew Ali. They didn't have this on it. The moon and the star, it was blank. It was blank. The hat was red, they were black ones and red ones.
Moors is the name given to the Muslims from North Africa that invaded the Iberian Peninsula and brought Islam to Spain and Portugal and southern France. So he's calling us Moors, and he dressed his followers in the fez.
So this hat here is the one that we wore at the first beginning of Muslims in the city of Detroit when Master Farrakhan Muhammad was here, and his representative at that time, and one of the times, the first one that I seen was named Abdul Muhammad. He wore one of these too. The messenger of Allah, he wore one, and you might see his picture sitting out there with it on. He had on one just like this. Only the torso was longer. That was the first time that I've seen him with the hat on, like this.
The fez that the Shriners wear is the fez of the Moors. And the tassel on its top is tied down. It was not allowed to swing a full 360 degrees because they only had 33.
Now I'm going to give you some hints. Some you might see don't have a tassel on it, right? What is the meaning of the tassel? What is the meaning of it? Hanging down. Well, I tell you, it means the same thing that it means when you are graduating from school. That means knowledge. This here means knowledge. Same in school. When you graduate from school, I don't know if the devil ever told a lot of our people, because so many black people now is graduating, they don't tell them everything. You know, they just let them get on out of here. Yeah, you all right. Yeah, you're your diploma. And then when they come out, say, what nationality are you? Oh, I'm a nigger. I'm a Negro. I'm Afro-American. You still dumb as hell. Excuse the expression. But that's true, you know. But you got the tarsal on. And don't know your name.
Look at what he said. The Moors were enslaved by reducing their mentality to that of Negroes, blacks, and colored people. As a man thinketh, so is he. Moors who sleep too much. Wake up and see the 7 bridges crossing in the sky. Can you see that you are a people? Not an organization. We are a people. We are a nation.
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know the true our leaders started dropping it. The problem
Islam. So, in that special measure there, family, we can see, and shouts out again into the brother Moorish American 720. We see that he represents, the Moorish Zionist temple, so to speak, by the cell that he has. That's what I'm seeing there. So honors to the brother, because we know the Moorish Zionist temple was actually established after the prophet left Newark, New Jersey, back during the time when the prophet left New Jersey for the Midwest. So honors to those Moors bearing the name Moorish American, if that's what they represent, but in the same breath, these were different examples of certain measures mentioned by, the brother minister Farrakhan, Malik Zulu Shabazz, along with brother minister John Muhammad, the brother of Elijah Muhammad, all expressing in some way elements, that I feel are necessary in regards to dealing with building the gap bridge. In other words, bridging the gap, you see? And so you can't build a nation, family, with bogus building materials. And by no means am I referring to any of the things that these brothers spoke of or talked about as bogus building materials. I'm talking about our people now in this new era and time that have a problem with being able to pick up, where these brothers left off, who came before us, us being stagnant in indoctrination. Everything that we learn from these brothers along the lines of dealing with religion, regardless of what school of thought we came from, they came to us at that particular level as to where we were at the time. And all of that has to do with your own personal relationship with the Creator that allows you to become one who demonstrates mastery of the self. Because in the times of ancient Kemet, every leader of a nation, every ruler had to be seated with the truths that would make that a special ruler, an executive ruler, based upon, how well his character was built. It takes the character of fortitude, being upright, independent, and fearless to be a people, but you have to be taught. Our people have been destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You see? And the European, has destroyed our people in this new era and time by removing from their historical database above the neck. I'm talking about the mind. They have uprooted, these histories or the knowledge of who we are from us. And this has done more harm to us, than the Library of Alexandria being destroyed in ancient Kemet. See, because there's a work being done now to destroy the library that has to do with our mind and knowing who we are, knowing what our history is, and knowing, what we are to do. So we've been in loop mode almost since the time of 1865. If you look behind me, which is covered right now, you would often see our Moorish seal in the Moorish American government, and it states Moorish American nation since 1865. And that is before the birth of our beloved Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, he is the one that brought us a knowledge of the correction of our status in relation to dealing with who we are as a nation of people. This is also embraced even within the recorded records of law in relation to dealing with the people that were brought here. In the 1740 Negro Act, they make this plain that they seen our people, you know, the Egyptian, if that's where you come from, the Moors and the Asiatics, they were considered a free people. And they were not taken as those whom they had denationalized. In that case, it actually represented all of our people that didn't know that they had a Moorish descendancy. You see? So it ain't what they call you, it's what you answer to. And we answer to it by default when we reject, you know, a history. We're not, when we say Moorish American, make no mistake about it, though, you know, our Holy Prophet established a religious corporation. When you hear Moorish American, this really encompasses all of our people. Not only here in the Americas, but also in the Caribbean and so forth and so on. So let me move on. I just want to make this plain. Don't look at Moorish America as a religious corporation. Moorish America is not a religious corporation. Moorish American really is a blanket term that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought that would cover all of our people. So if we're looking through the eyes of divinity and the eyes of unity, when we see our NOI family, we see them as Moorish American, even though they may be unconscious of the fact that they are Moorish American. And that's not making a slight on them because they don't know. If we see a 5%er, that's a Moorish American. If we see a Nuwaubian, that's a Moorish American. You see, if we see our beloved family, you know, that think that they are in the church of Christianity, they're Moorish Americans. New Black Panther Party, Moorish Americans. We can go on and on and on. Even those who think that they are part and parcel of the secret societies of Rome, these individuals that are calling themselves so-called Black Masons. Unbeknownst to them, they are also Moorish Americans. And that has nothing to do with whatever religious affiliation we have. It has nothing to do with whatever social status that we claim in social clubs and social or fraternal, you know, sororities and organizations and so forth and so on. This term Moorish American ties all of us to this land as an indigenous people. You see, this is the key in regards to what it is that we're dealing with. So it has, let's move the thought of, you know, the religious doctrines out of the way and deal with the name itself when we talk about Moorish American. So that brings me up to this special point. You know, as I continue to go on, I want to let you hear Farrakhan speak again. He got a couple of measures where he spoke on the Moors a few times. You know, he had one, you know, where, you know, he was addressing Moors and they was always sitting in the audience. But I'm going to let you hear this real quick because I want to get to what he stated in this particular panel that I was sending an invite to, you know, of the message that he spoke this morning, because that's what this video or this broadcast is all about. That's what this live is all about. And shouts out to Sister Yaya El also for this coverage.
This great city ended in 1913. Brother Noble Drew Ali set up the Canaanite temple in Newark. It's very, very important because 1914 ended the time of the devil. According to what Allah revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his time was up to rule us. We are now in our time, and he's in our time.
very important because Noble Drew Ali was the prime predecessor of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, bringing Islam to the black man of America. While Mr. Garvey would not teach religion, though a Muslim influenced him, he did not feel it was his place to teach religion. And Mr. Garvey struck more success with the common man by a more nationalistic Pan-African approach, which had something to do with access to land and freedom. But Noble Drew Ali had the same thought, but he came in a religious vein. And even though Noble Drew Ali had passed, and many of the former followers of Noble Drew Ali came to join the nation. We write a letter to get an X, but he never, ever touched the names that Noble Drew Ali gave to his followers. They already had a righteous name. They already were out from under the enemy. One of the first lectures that I ever heard after the Savior's Day address that brought me into the nation, Elijah Muhammad gave that address in New York City under Brother Malcolm in the same hall where Marcus Garvey used to hold his meetings. And I had just come in the nation, and I was in New York, and Elijah Muhammad came, and that day he ordered us to always show honor and respect to Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And that stands to this very hour.
Islam, family. The most powerful measure I heard in there, when the brother was speaking, is he was talking about how, the Moors had already had a righteous name. And they were already out from under the devil, you see. And I don't think the brother said this to flatter or entertain the people, because he had no reason, of flattering or entertaining the people or the Moors. And I seen our brother, shouts out to the brother Roy Bay. Brother Roy Bay reached out to me, over a year or so ago, and we had a conversation where I sat down with him and brother Braden Bay, on demonstrate Moorish unity. And though the things didn't go exactly the way we wanted them to go, I said this to the brother. I say, I see you, brother, and you see me, you see us, and we both want unity for our people. I said, so keep doing the work more that you are doing. And when the time comes, the great God Allah would oblige us, all that we meet, at the pinnacle of wisdom, so to speak. So we know the condition of our people. Yes, the Moors were given one free national name. Yes, they were given a truth that would bring them from up under that devilish mentality, a devilish behavior, but yet and too, it's still much wisdom to be learned even by the Moors. We all have work to do. We don't say this in a way to critique and criticize the MST of A or any Moorish group out there bearing the name Moorish. Because at the end of the day, we are all part and parcel of the Prophet's divine and national movement. This is the measure that I've been trying to get to you, family. You know, it took a lot of, you know, going out there and showing a lot of tough love in order to create a platform, you know, to be able to present this information to you, because most of the platforms out there that our people are supposed to be learning under have become platforms of mudslinging. And so we don't want to create this particular measure as a platform of mudslinging. We're trying to show you where the unity is. And now that I have your listening ear, I'm trying to show you the bridges that unite all of us, despite what it is that you may claim you believe in. Put all of that to the side and let's think about the oneness. You know, the brother was speaking in regards to dealing with unity, you know, in a particular measure. I'm going to show it right now. You know, he was talking about it's many ways to get to the Creator. You know, it says that in the Grand Quran. To each of all of you, there's a goal that leads to Allah. When you look at the nature of a pyramid, and I use this example all the time, a pyramid has 4 corners, but yet those 4 corners lead up to one point. So if we were a people, or just say put 4 individuals at each end and they were able to climb themselves up, it would be impossible for them not to meet each other at the top of that special pyramid, at the capstone, at the delta, at the apex. You see, it will be impossible for this not to happen. So to each and every one of us, we have been given, you know, in a special path. And all of our goal is in the oneness. When Allah is oneness in our eyes and we're dealing with true Islamic monotheism, you know, then we as a people will be one. Because monotheism goes beyond just saying God is one. That also states that we as a people must be one as a nation. You see? And if we are one as a nation under that oneness of the Creator through deific will and deific ties of what we call a golden cord of love, it's impossible for an enemy to be able to utilize any form of demarcated thought patterns or anything that they can inject in there to cause some strife and division amongst us. The only way that this can be successful is if that enemy come from the outside, acting as if they are a friend to us, infiltrate our ranks, be it the NOI, be it the MSTA, be it the Moorish American government, be it any of these special people. And when they infiltrate these particular measures, then they come into ability to take control or just cause fitna and confusion within the ranks. And this will cause the constant conflict. And you're going to see the brother mention this because we're getting ready to put that up, you know, in just a second here. I want you to hear another measure when the brother was speaking concerning the Moors. Let me share my screen again, family, because we want to make it plain. This is an olive branch that I'm extending to my family. Okay.
I want to be very, very quick with this, so I don't have a lot of time. I have written you, I have written your son, most of God. Written Ishmael, met Ishmael before. And I've been trying to get a meeting with him in regards to this information that I have from Nobody Ali. Nobody Ali mentioned Master Farrakhan Muhammad twice in his lecture. He mentioned a man named Ford. And in my temple, we teach that Master Farrakhan Muhammad was in fact Nobody Ali's teacher.
And I want to personally ask you, sir, what would you like me to do with this information? I've been wanting to get it over to you. I have the writings. I can read you what Noble Ali said about Master Farrakhan Muhammad. And I just want the world to know this information. I believe in my heart that it will end so much confusion, so much hidden lies that have been going on since 1929, when the messenger was rolled up in 1931. As you know, it's been a lot of conflict between the Moorish Americans and the FOI, and it should not be, because they are both shot from the same bow. And I'm convicted because I have these writings in front of me. I have this information. This is not something that...
What is your name again?
What is your name, bro?
Amadi Muhammad.
Amati, my dear brother, I wish you would come and we'll sit and talk and hear what it is you have to say. I will say this to you, sir, that the first time that Elijah Muhammad came to New York after I had accepted Islam, Brother Malcolm was alive at that time and his New York minister. The first, it was October 1956. I'm sorry, 55. Elijah Muhammad spoke on two men who were the forerunners to him. Noble Drew Ali was number one, and Marcus Garvey was number two. He said to us, that was the first big speech outside of a temple that I heard Elijah Muhammad speak. And on that day, he lifted Noble Drew Ali, that we should honor him, respect him, and study what he did. As a forerunner, we had many who were followers of Noble Drew.
I don't know what's going on with this connection.
Under the name Bey and Krim and other Islamic names.
Yeah, this thing.
That came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we never clashed. We never clashed with our brothers from the Moorish Science Temple. Number two, whatever you know that we can prove the truth of, that would benefit both of us coming together as Muslims to augment the teachings. When I say augment, raise the teaching to a level that we are not now in 1929 or 39 or 49. We're in 2016, soon to be 2017. And I know that as Noble Drew Ali taught things that was ahead of the development of the people spiritually, Master Farrakhan Muhammad did the same. Remember, we were in total darkness. So you don't come and shine a bright light when people have been walking in darkness for 400 years. You put their eyes out completely with bright light. Light comes mixed with darkness as the dawn breaks. So it is when a great teacher comes to a people that have walked in darkness all their lives. He doesn't come with the full light of truth, just as the sun, when it appears at dawn, is light mixed with darkness to allow you to open your eyes gradually. And as the darkness vanishes and the light manifests, you come fully into consciousness. So Elijah Muhammad told me as his representative, he said, I don't want you teaching the teachings as I taught it 40 years ago, the histories he was talking about. I want you to teach the meaning of those things. So yes, brother, come on, let's pool this knowledge, get to the root of the meaning of the words that were spoken by wise masters, and let's go to work.
You know, I gotta say this. You know, I marvel at what you said from the beginning. You were reminiscing, and it's been 62 years of this labor of love. Interruption, an hour, 2 years there. But it's so wonderful if we can only recognize that when we come into a little knowledge, some of us think that you weren't continuing on. You know what I mean? You got 62 years of this. And I just think about the care you used when I brought up Rutgers University and having Abdul Malik there and being conscious of that. Because you have the ability to be patient and tear a question open. Right away, it's almost like you can see through these type of things. And some of us just answer right off the cuff and get ourselves in trouble because if we think about it a little, you know, we can sit back and see the wisdom in it. And that's where doubt becomes the mother of hypocrisy.
Sometimes, Brother Munir, if we don't have confidence in the teachings that we've received, that we can defend it, then we're not upset when people come with a different point of view. I have an album, God willing, coming out. I don't know when. I hope it'll be soon. But there's a reggae in the album with myself and Damian Marley. And it's an old song that I wrote, maybe 50, 60 years ago. It's called Let Us Unite. And the old song says that Muslims, Christians, and Jews, we are all of the family of Abraham. So, but we're all scattered now. So the new version of it, Damian Marley does a beautiful, beautiful job. And the minister starts it with words like, God, let me see if I can remember. One of the verses is about Abraham and what happened to break us apart.
Yeah.
I said Satan was at the root. And then I said, 4 and 3 makes 7. Also 5 and 2. There's one great universal truth, but many different points of view. So it's these different points of view that got us all divided. 5 and 2 is 7. 4 and 3 is 7. 6 and 1 is 7. 7 and 0 is 7. But when you don't have the root of mathematics, you think your mother taught you wrong. When she told you, 4 and 3 is 7. And you meet your brother down the street, he said, no, man, my father taught me 4 and 3 is 7. Yeah. Then you go meet your grandmother and she said, wait a minute, 6 and 1 is 7. And you get confused because you don't know the root. The root of the division
is the lack of understanding of the mathematical root to all revelation. So then we go one more verse. Abraham is turning in his grave, seeing how the children behave, fighting and killing each other, denying their connection as brother. All of them waiting for the Messiah to pull the family together. But what will he require to pull them out of the judgment fire? Let's unite. So wait for that hot one. It's coming out.
Okay, family. You know, that was a very powerful measure of wisdom that our brother demonstrated. You know, and that's the same logic that I've been vibrating from since I was in my young youth. It ain't strange to hear that brother say that. He said he made that into a song, but I used to teach brothers these measures. I'm talking about over 15, 20 years ago. I would say to a brother, you know, when you deal with the math, and this is before I heard the minister say this now, this 20 years ago, I would say, you know, the 7 is more than one way to get the 7. You know, I would use that same measure to demonstrate a unity. That was a powerful key that he brought it to him. You know, and the problem is that most of our people, you know, they don't want to see the root of the measure. You know, and it ain't strange that the seal that I have behind me up there on the wall, you know, is the 7, the circle 7. Even the European Manly P. Hall, when listening to him talk about Jacob's ladder, he spoke that it would take a government based upon the postulates of 7 postulates for a nation to be built properly, because he didn't believe the United States government, you know, was proper government because it wasn't spiritually guided. There's only one government that's postulating on the 7 right now, you know, and I don't say that because I'm part and partial of it. I say that because that's what it is. You know, we're not looking for the European to give us permission to be who we are. We are who we are. And there are 7 postulates here in the Moorish American government. It wasn't the job of Farrakhan to complete the job of the prophet. You know, Farrakhan, as he stated, his job was to interpret what his teacher taught. But he used the master measure when he said, if we could augment the teaching in a way to where we get out of the past and come into the present and then come together based upon that, you know, that's the draw. So when you get a book, you know, you read the works such as The Exhuming of a Nation. And for those of you who may not know what that is, it's this book here. It's called The Book of Fire. What would, you know, the Messiah require, you know, when it comes to that especially fire, you know? So this Exhuming of a Nation was written by my Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Pert M. Heru Tutankhamun Bey. Farrakhan has a copy of that book. My chairman gave that book to Farrakhan personally in Tennessee, you know, when they met each other. And you can believe the minister is a reader, so I know he looked into that book. Even when he was speaking about the Moors, you know, when he put the prophet behind him on the banner that he had. Though you may not know it, and many of those of the NOI that was listening to them, because they are so used to listening to him and thinking that, oh, this teaching is just rooted in whatever. I could hear the brother actually making statements from the Exhuming of a Nation while he was speaking to them, though not saying it to them directly. And it was Moors in the audiences while he was addressing this, you know, and it was very clever to be demonstrated that way, but only a mastermind and those who knew the language he was really speaking. But he acknowledged that his work has come to a point of departure as far as perfecting, you know, what it was as far as teaching the people according to what his leader and his guide had taught him. And it will be left now upon the people to pick up where all of the leaders of the past left off at. You know, in other words, the Moors have to pick up where Noble Drew Ali left off at. And it wasn't just limited to being a religious corporation. It is dealing with being a nation. That's why he has said he established the Moorish Science Temple for the purpose of teaching our people to be citizens. But he went on behind that. He said he established, whereas the Moorish Divine and National Movement was established for the purpose of the uniting of the Asiatic states. And that's where we dropped the ball at. I'm going to keep using the hammer of repetition in that area. Nothing wrong with the fact that we acknowledge the Prophet was the founder of the MST of A. You see, nothing wrong with that. But we have dropped the ball as a whole, Moors, when it comes down to dealing with a uniting of the Asiatic states. And it don't stop there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali not only speaks of a uniting of the Asiatic states, but he also speaks on a duty and obligation along the lines of social duties where we take these lessons and set our brothers straight in the East. And that has to do with a uniting of the Asiatic nations. So we haven't even begun the process of uniting the Asiatic states, less knowing dealing with the uniting of the Asiatic nations. And when we deal with uniting the Asiatic nations, we have to approach that upon the measure of dealing with a uniting of Islam, which also was mentioned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That would go, across both poles, so to speak, the East and the West. In order for Islam to be united, there has to be a teaching that augments the uniting of those teachings. And that goes in the highest, loftiest teachings that those teachings have to offer. In our case, we have simply putting love out front. Outside of all the doctrination or indoctrination that we have received, that's the grand drawing. He spoke of a uniting of the Quran of Muhammad. And this is where we derive our power and authority from. What teachings in the uniting of the Quran of Muhammad are we referring to? It is like that of the Atlantis of ancient Kemet that shines down and have many rays coming from it with hands at the end. And this is symbolic to what we call the mind. The hand is symbolic to the mind due to its ability to shape, to mold, to obtain, to retain. This is what the mind state of the leader is likened to that has come to reach our people, coming from many nations. It's like the Atlantis of the sun that shines upon all. See, that's the powerful measure that we are not looking at. So, without further ado and delay, let me give you an opportunity to look at this measure I just sat in. And honest to Brother Elamine for sending me the invite. I hope they have it again so I can actually speak on it. And this was a measure that was newly demonstrated by our brother Farrakhan on Zoom, but listen to what he stated. Let me share my screen. Okay, there we go, family. And we'll go from here.
The work that y'all doing, the international piece is critical because when we talk about the Nubian Leadership Circle, we're talking about local, national, and international. Like Brother Kamal from Haiti and folks who are involved. We got folks from France, England, what have you. So it's really important. And we want to keep that energy moving forward. Okay, with that, let me just say that I know y'all love the sound of my voice, but I think there's another voice that everybody's looking forward to hearing. And I'm assuming that this individual, who's a friend of mine and a warrior in our struggle for liberation, is listening. And Mr. Farrakhan, I know we had a discussion and we talked about the time frame. And we said, well, how about an hour? But hey, an hour or whatever you need, sir, we want you to take that time to put that message out there because we got thousands of folks who are sitting with bated breath, waiting to hear from your voice. So, Sister Michelle, we're ready to bring on Minister Louis Farrakhan to close out our summons. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother.
To my dear and beloved brother, Siddiqui Cambon, and to all of the wonderful presenters, the cadres, and the work that you have done over this first year of the effort of Brother Siddiqui to make this Nubian Leadership Circle a great success. And I thank you, Brother Siddiqui, and I thank all of those whom I had the pleasure to hear and the beautiful work of the cadres. May Allah bless each and every one of you to continue this great calling and this great work. As I lay in my bed thinking about this summit meeting today, honoring 1 year from the first meeting to the 4th summit, and honoring the success that Allah has brought to our effort. But I was deeply concerned about what to say to this august body of brothers and sisters. And as I listened to you, I heard the nuts and bolts of a nation coming together. I heard the deep and loving concern of us for one another and for Black people wherever we are found on this planet as part of our family, and the connection has to be made between what is going on in the West, what is going on in the East, and what is going on in Africa and the Caribbean, and wherever Black people are now scattered. I wanted to talk about the vision for a nation. What kind of nation do we really want? We are coming up talking about building a nation at the end of the 6,000-year rule of our former slave and colonial masters. Surely America is the greatest of those nations that came up in this last 6,000 years, but we're looking at the death of America. We're living to see the fall of a great nation, and it is unraveling before our eyes. So surely America cannot be the example of the nation that we desire to be. And so in this last 6,000 years, we have the history of the rise and fall of nations. Nations have come, become great, become corrupt and fall. Nations have extended their power and reach over many smaller nations or tribes. But where are they today? We have not an example of perpetuity in none of these nations. They come and they go, they rise and they fall, because something inherent in their rise and in their fall has told us that they are not a good example. For us to follow. So we began thinking, what should be our foundation? What will make the work that each of you are doing and others are coming to join us in doing, what will make this work live beyond us? I soon will be 89 years of age. I know I don't have as much time in front of me as behind me. And when you reach a certain age, like Brother Siddiqui and others on this board, we have to think about what we are leaving and who we are training to take the best of what we do and make it better and keep it going. What will make our nation survive rise and fall dynamics? What will make the new black world survive the dynamics of the rise and fall of nations? The Bible says it like this: righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is the reproach of a people to any people. I want us to just look at that for a minute, because we've come up in America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in Africa under European leadership. We could say we came up under the devil himself. There's nothing that they have done that is in harmony with the law of good and righteousness. They are very strange people who have been our masters and our teachers. And in reality, being under them for 462 years in America, they have literally made us into themselves. So in the book of Revelations, I'm going to quote some scriptures from Bible and Quran, but I want us to take it, the principle of it, and apply it to wherever we are. In the book of Revelations, an angel comes forth and he declares, Babylon the Great is fallen, for she has become a habitation of devils, a hole of every foul creature, and a cage for every hateful bird. We grew up in Babylon. Babylon taught us not to love ourselves, but to hate ourselves And that's why you can have a cadre talking about what we are doing to one another. As much as Malcolm has taught and Martin has taught and Marcus Garvey and others have taught us, for us to be at this time in our lives and our own people are becoming our worst enemy. It's not their fault, but it is a reality. Who made them this way? Our art and culture cadre. Who's feeding the filth over the radio that make our young people rap in a foolish way? Not like the early rappers who rapped with knowledge of self. But today, it's filth. It's indecency. It is debauchery. It is the glorification of niggerism. The glorification of something that we should never call each other nigger and make it seem like it's something nice. We are descendants of the Creator himself. So when I say to you, my brother, it's because God is our Creator and our Father. And so you are my natural brother, my natural sister, who has been made unnatural by an unnatural enemy. Beloved family, I hope I'm not disturbing us in a negative way. I want us to see how difficult it is for us to meet and be successful in what we're doing when inside of us there's a boiling cauldron of dislike for each other. And that comes out every time we try to do something together. We end up destroying it ourselves. Not that we are the destroyer, it's the enemy operating in us that is making us self-destructive. We become traitors of one another. We become stool pigeons. We become the agents of our enemy against our own rise. What kind of nation do we envision? Do you know that God, who created life, he didn't make it so complex? Really, to live right is simple. It is the burden of unrighteousness that bends us toward a lower level of human existence. My beloved family, righteousness exalts a nation. I didn't say religion, because we have used religion as a crutch. And if the religion does not make us better, does not cultivate the divine essence of our being, then that's the religion of the enemy. But the religion of God is what lifts us up and cultivates the greatness of God that he's put not in some of us, but in all of us. What kind of nation do we want? When we sit in these cadres and we talk about what's happening to us as a people. In Africa, Please, my gay and lesbian brothers and sisters, don't think that I hate you. I love you as my family. But the way of life that we are living is counter to the nature of God and the nature of the universe and its creation. God created everything in pairs. There's a male and female grass, male and female in everything that keeps the life of that species continuing. I love you as a brother. I love you as a sister. But the love of the same sex for one another that's rooted in righteousness is wonderful. But when we take it to the extreme, which Satan has caused us to do now, we have gone to the extreme under the tutelage of a real satanic mind. That now we want to marry each other, put the name of God on something that he refers to as an abomination. I am not speaking down to you. I love each and every one of you. The sickest of our people, I love. The most trifling of our people, I love. Because I know who you are. And I know who made you into what you have become. So I am not an enemy. And God is not your enemy. He will save us from our own selves because he has chosen us out of the furnace of affliction to help him build not only a nation, but a world. And after we have suffered what we have suffered, why would we treat each other and others like we have been treated? A self-hateful person cannot be trusted to love anybody. So we have a big job in the Nubian circle, but we have to start in each cadre to accept to be right. How about that? I want to treat you like I want you to treat me. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, we are not a Muslim until we love for our brother what we love for ourselves. Not love for our dog what we love for ourselves, or love for our nigger what we love for ourselves. No! We are flesh of each other's flesh, blood of each other's blood, and we are the children of one mighty creator. And if you can't see that you are connected to God in the way he created us, then we are still lacking sight. If in the cadres we commit not to join some religion, commit to trying to do what is right. And that's so simple. It's not a complex thing to do what's right. Look, if I love you as I love myself, I'm not suicidal. If I harm you, I've harmed myself because you're a part of me. Our sisters are suffering because we don't fully understand her value to us. She's a creature from the Creator. She's created to complement our nature, and our nature complements her. We ain't going nowhere without our women. And we can't build nothing successfully without them. They have to be in our hearts as we build. Free the woman and let her be what God created her to be. No man should be envious of a talented black woman. You should see her as an instrument of God. And when she brings the sweetness of her talent to the fore, salute her. And thank God for a helper in such a cause as building a nation, but not any nation, a righteous nation. Because if we do not practice righteousness, whatever we build will have no perpetuity on this planet. None whatsoever. So if you want, as a living dead person, to pass on unrighteousness in our work to our children, thinking that it's going to be all right, no, it won't be all right. We have to set the example. And I have to say this, I'm not a hater. I know why God made devil. The devil had a job to do, and he done it very well. I'm not hateful of white people. But I can't follow you in your deviation from nature's laws. I can't follow you and act like because you've been the God of your world that our nation that's coming up will have you as the God of it too. We've had enough of you. It's us and God. It's us reflecting God. And the love of God in us for self and for one another, ain't nothing can hold us back. Nothing can hold us down. Look at envy. Envy is a disease of the heart. And sometimes when somebody gets up and does something so spectacular, our brother, we can't praise him. We can't say to him, wow, wasn't that great? We can't say to her, that was great work. Thank God for you. We can't. An envious person is a hater of God. Because an envious person will say, I'm better. Why don't I have this gift that so-and-so has? That may not be your gift, but God didn't leave you out. He blessed every one of you with a piece of himself in a gift that is unique, and it demonstrates your connection to the greatness of God. If you've ever watched a dead person deteriorate, as much as we love our loved ones, we can't stay in the bed with our beloved wife or mom or daddy because we love them. Because as they deteriorate, they excrete from themselves toxins, poisons, bacteria. They have to be put away from the living. Envy, the Bible says, is more cruel than the grave. And the Bible says the grave cannot praise God. Nothing coming out of the grave is praising God. So we don't hang around graveyards, even if it's a graveyard with a great one from ourselves in it. We go visit it, we put flowers down, but we're not standing there because the dead cannot help the living to be alive. Each of us soon will be gone. But I want to see our people free indeed. Not just free from the white man, but free from the manacle of enmity and hatred and the burden of envy and jealousy. You're a slave when you're bound to sin. That's why when Jesus was talking to the members of the Jewish community, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. They said, how come you said we shall be set free? We ain't never been enslaved up to any man. Yeah. But if you're enslaved to the covetousness of yourself, where you see what God has blessed Africa with, or the Caribbean and other nations with, and you call it your self-interest, to rob others of what God gave them. A covetous people. That's not your example. We have to separate from that mentality. Put it away. And if they want to be like that, put them away with it. Because the poison, the toxicity of their way of civilization will destroy our nation before it even gets up. I'm going to say a few more words, and I'm so grateful to Siddiqui. I'm so grateful to each one of you. I'm so grateful for your desires to build a nation. That's what God is calling us to do. Build a nation. Not a nation to glorify our enemies, but a nation to glorify God. And you know, man is not made to accept praise. I want to say this because all of our great ones, all of them, the media starts writing, oh, what a great basketball player, what a great singer, what a great this, what a great that. And it's true, they are great. But once you accept the praise, you accepted a burden on your soul. Because you didn't give yourself what you got. You exploited what God gave you, and it benefited you. It benefited others. But who does the praise belong to? To my beloved Muslim brother. When the Prophet received the Quran, in the arrangement of the Quran, the opening surah or chapter is called Al-Fatiha. Al-Fatiha. We want a nation. We want a nation that will stand the test of time. We want a nation that will live when we have become grandmothers and grandfathers and babas. We want a nation that will be a light to those coming behind us. We want a nation that's built on righteousness. So if righteousness exalts a nation, how can we be great helpers in building a nation and we don't want to be right? Come on. See, everything that's in us that is not right is a burden. We got to get rid of that burden. Take it off you, because it's weighing down the power of your soul. You can never be the great man that you were born to be with the burden of evil hanging around our necks. So you know what? The moment we say we want a nation, here comes the corrupter. What can I do for you? What can I give you? I want you to honor me, Satan says. Boy. You remember when he took Jesus up on the mountain? He took him up on a mountain. I don't know why Jesus went up there with him. But the Bible says he went up the mountain with the devil, with Satan. Satan waited till they got to the top of the mountain. I imagine they were talking on the way up. But when they got to the top of the mountain, because when you're at the top of something, you can look out and see many things that you couldn't see while you were climbing the mountain. But when they got to the top of the mountain, that's when Satan dropped I would say he dropped the lug on Jesus. Jesus. See, your father promised you a kingdom. Well, I got one right here. Look at all the cities that I control. I'll give it to you. You just got to bow. It ain't going to take much for you to bow. I mean, look at what I got. Look at what I can give you. See, white folk can give you anything you want in the material world for bowing. How many of you have been invited to a place that you have never been used to going? And then the question is asked, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Like our president. Oh, take the vaccine. Come on, man. Oh, no, it will help. I wouldn't lead you astray. Take it. And you're so afraid to die, because you feel if you took the vaccine, you could stave off the coronavirus. So you're frightened. Oh, how can you be of God and be afraid? Fear is not a companion of righteousness. When you're afraid, it doesn't mean that you're weak. God is going to try us with something of fear. But my teacher told me that God never created a creature that he was afraid of. And every creature, he says, fears God. So when you and I know that we're direct descendants of God, now listen to this. The creatures are willing to bow to us if we bow to God. When I first learned that I had cancer, a friend of mine, Dr. He just passed away recently. He had a place down in southern Arizona. Dr. Goss. And I visited his place. I found out I had cancer. And I wanted to go to myself and fast and pray. And Dr. Goss was so sweet, so kind, so loving. And to Dr. Ife Williams, if you're listening, when I was trying to rebuild the Nation of Islam, it was my brother, Dick Gregory, who offered me space on his farm to go and meditate and get myself together. None of us are here of ourselves. All of us were made by others who helped us to become who and what we are. So for us to get the big head, it's an insult to those who helped to make us. I thank God for Dick Gregory. I thank God for his wisdom and his righteousness. A good man. I'm saying that to say this. In the Bible, God makes nations great and he destroys them. He enlarges nations and guides them. What do you envision for the nation we want to build? Do you want sirens blaring because we got in an argument and we had a weapon and we grabbed it and shot each other or killed each other? Is that what we want? Or do you want the peace that comes when two people love each other and even disagree, but not become disagreeable? Because each of you is my teacher. I'm going to say it again. Each of you can teach me something that I did not know. How dare anyone who has greatness, who doesn't respect the greatness of God in his brothers and sisters who share the burden of his labor? I'm not saying this that I'm just saying it. I know you can teach me something that I didn't know. That's why I love listening. Because every time I listen, I learn. And when I listen and learn, I love deeper. Everyone that I heard was so happy over their cadre, over what they shared together today. I think I should shut this down because I don't want to be too late. Let me close with these words from the Quran. Travel in the land and see what was the end of the rejectors. Travel. Well, we can't travel and see what happened in the days of Noah or Lot, but when you read their history, you're traveling. When you see the history of nations that have fallen down, nations that have been destroyed by God, what does it bring up in your mind when you and I want to build a nation? The nations always start off pretty good. I'm going to close with the nation that I live in. America, righteousness exalts a nation, not the power of your weapons or the richness that is dying. Or your gold that is cankered. Your garments that are moth-eaten. America is unraveling as we speak. She's dying a slow death because of greed, because of the lust for the resources of other nations. She's dying because of the evil way she has treated not only us, but her own people. What kind of nation do we want to build? Can it be built on our bloodshed of each other? Or can it be built by our love for each other? Our willingness to forgive each other for the mistakes that we make in trying to be right. In the Lord's Prayer, you say, forgive me my trespasses, as I forgive those who trespass against me. How many people have hurt you on your way to being the great you that I see today? Not one of us has come here without being hurt and stung by the pain of enmity and envy and jealousy. Can you forgive? How could you forgive the white man for all the evil that he has poured on us, even to this very moment of time? How could you forgive him, but won't forgive your mother who made a mistake, or your father, or your brother, or your sister? See, we're going to build a nation that's going to live. So death has to come off of us. The death of this world has to come off of us as we wash and become clean. Each one of you is a great component. Each one of you is a master. If not yet, potentially you are a master. Each one of you has lived life. I know I'm looking at Dr. Ray Winbush, and I know my brother has been through hell. Manatee, he has been through hell. Oh, yes. All of us who come to greatness come through affliction. May God use us. May God bless us. As we go through the next year now, if I did something wrong, if I said something that I shouldn't have said in the manner that I shouldn't have said it, will you forgive me? Will you help me to be a better person by telling me the truth? If we will be loving and kind and gracious to each other, the work of Siddiqui, that's a great work that our brother is doing. And we are helping him to do it, and in so doing, we're helping ourselves. Thank you, Brother Siddiqui. Thank you all. Now, the Quran, which is the book, I love to quote the Quran. Bible too. But in the Quran, listen to these words of Allah. You are the best nation raised up for men. You enjoin good and you forbid evil. My God. You believe in Allah. By whatever name you call God, our belief in the supreme power of the supreme being, he must direct our lives. Will you let him direct our building of a nation for his glory, a nation that will have perpetuity, like Jesus said, a nation that will never die. Eternal life is only in righteousness. The brothers that are buying land, the brothers that are making food, remember, when you look at the land, look up. Not to a space god, but look up and say, if this land is not connected to that sun, that moon, those stars, making clouds rise from the water of the earth to rain on my land so that my land will produce my food. How can earth live without heaven? Heaven and earth work together. I want us to live in the light of God and know that he will bless your every effort for food, clothing, and shelter. He will open doors that are closed. if we pool our resources and act. I'm not talking about being a Muslim. You already are that, whether you know it or not. But I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about natural principles that our African forebears lived. That's true religion. And by the way, I was with Elijah Muhammad one day, and he asked me, he said, brother, what's the best religion? I thought it was a trick question because he's my teacher and he's asking me what's the best religion. So I said, Islam. He never said yes. He never said no. Here's what he said. The best religion is that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if we just practice that, the Nubian circle is going to grow. It will get stronger and stronger every day that we love like that, every day that we act like that, every day that we think like that. Then God will open up our brain and we'll see and hear things for our nation's growth. Because we're growing a nation that we want to live forever. Thank you, Siddiqui. Thank you for all of you that I see. I should be staring at the camera, but I'm looking at the beautiful people. Oh, look at you, look at you. You had a wonderful few days, and I'm so proud to have been connected to my brother Siddiqui to produce this. And what I see, let's keep it going. There's much more work we can do. Let's treat yourself right. Treat each other right. Don't lie on each other. Don't lie to each other. If you're supposed to do something, you didn't get it done. Well, yeah, I did. No, shut up, shut up. If you're going to lie, you're going to defeat your own character building. Stop lying. Tell the truth. It's so freeing to be truthful. May Allah bless you. Can we have a prayer together, please, before I sign off? It's like we're holding each other's hands. قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. Oh Allah, I come to you on behalf of this great circle that our brother Nubian and those with him has formed, and it's getting larger every time we meet. The circle is getting larger, more coming in, and even those who went out will come back because it's the right circle to be a part of. Oh Allah, guide us, bless us, protect us, give us the power of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we may put Satan to a perpetual flight. I ask this in your holy and righteous name. I bear witness there is no God but you, and I bear witness that there's only one God, by whatever name we call him. You're the one that gave us life. You are the one that have ordered this circle. And we thank you. Amen. Thank you, Sadiq.
So Islam family, you know, I'm actually getting ready to go forth with a meeting, you know, on our conference call. And I'm going to put the information in there so that you can chime in and tap in, whatever the case may be. And grand drawing by our brother. But I want to leave you with a measure that came forth, you know, from our brother, you know, Elijah Muhammad, you know, the teacher of our brother Farrakhan. And I'm going to share it with you real quick. As many of us fail to realize, our brother spoke on the theology of time, you know, and what must be done. Remember, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought a message to the black man, as he called it. But he said that our people, the black man, was blind, deaf, and dumb, in need of resurrection. He was dead, mentally dead. There's also a measure in the lessons where he taught that your identity is not your skin color or the landmass from which you come. Your identity lies in you being God, one with God, you know. And so this transcends all flesh, and this is right in line. So after having been a measure brought as a measure dealing with the message to a dead man, our people that had to be raised, because every people is often represented by one individual, you know, from Israel being represented by one man first, you know, to every nation you can think about biblically, you know, they were represented first by a man. You know, we have come to a whole nother measure in regards to dealing with this new era in time, the time and what must be done. And it has to do with understanding that man to us is Moorish American national in this time. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated in the theology of time. He spoke in many places of a ruler that would come behind himself. He spoke of himself preparing a nation of building up followers. And after he created followers, he said God himself would come behind him. These are his words, you know, in this special book. He said that he was a forerunner so that God may come behind him. And if the NOI does not teach spookism, then this God too would have to be a man. We heard our brother Farrakhan speaking, and he spoke to the panel, which I was on this panel. You know, I was invited by our brother Elamin Muhammad. You know, I wish I would have got there earlier to do some speaking, so, you know, I could add to the discussion, but it's all good. It's just good to really get the measure. But nevertheless, this brother is talking about the building of a nation. He's not talking about, you know, the organization that was already built under the NOI. You know, he's identifying with the actual building of a nation coming out of our people. He told you that the time that is on the manifest won't permit him to go into it, but he wants to see this come into fruition. So he is not selecting or electing himself to be the leader, teacher, or the new ruler of this government, because his duty was to teach you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, taught, interpreted, give you the ability to understand. His job wasn't to come and build government. But yet the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to one that would come. He said the teachings that I've been given, the books I've read, will not be useful in the building of a new nation. You see, now that don't say that he discount what it is. In other words, he's saying what he has been given, and he told them that back during that time. He said it was a wake-up message. So now that the man has been raised from the dead, you know, and we call this book, like I said, that I have in my hand, the exhuming of a nation. What is the purpose of exhuming a nation? You raise the body from the grave, because there has been evidence, that has been newfound, and it is actually showing that there was some foul play involved, in the demise of their special body that was buried there. And so that's what this special man that you see featured here, our Grand National Chairman, came forth to demonstrate. Brother Elijah said, we must have a new government. We must have a new ruler, right? A new government, a new ruler, and a teacher of that new government. Since it is not patterned after the order of the old government. And Brother Farrakhan was stating it then, that righteousness exalts government. He says the God of truth, justice, and righteousness, Allah, is going to be the ruler or creator of the new government. We're not dealing with spookism, because Allah personifies his love, his truth, peace, freedom, and justice, or whatever it is that we need out of his provisions through us. When man looks into the face of man, he looks into the face of Allah. So there's no reason we should have hatred, amongst us for each other, because we are made in the image of the great God Allah. And to hate each other is to hate the image in which we have been made. You see? So when we go into this measure and we understand that Allah is the ruler or the creator of this new government, again, this is not spirit or spook. This is someone who has been given a drive to do the work. This is their work. This is what they were born for. This is what they were manifest for, to bring this particular portion. We are told that the gifts of the understanding of the treasures of Allah. We honor the gifts of the understanding of our brother Marcus Mosai Garvey. We honor the gifts of understanding of our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali. We honor the gifts of understanding of our beloved brother Elijah Muhammad Malcolm X El Hajj Malik Shabazz, brother Farrakhan, Clarence 13X, Malachi York, Huey P. Newton. Man, we can go on and on and on. We honor the gifts of all of the understanding that these brothers brought. Yet all of them spoke of nationhood, government. These are the things they desire for our people. And here you see Farrakhan saying the same thing. So it says Allah is going to be the ruler, creator of the new government, not spookism, family. Then by no means can he carry any of the old world into his new kingdom of truth, justice, equality, and peace. We must have a new government and a new people to operate the new government. This was our beloved brother, Elijah Muhammad, that stated this. Now, our chairman, Dr. Elihu Pleasant Bay Akin Acton Pert M. Heru Tutankhamun Bay, his high name, is the man that has come forth with that special burden and job with this government on his shoulder. We're not talking about just a spiritual government of Allah, but a real government. Now, I'm going to read something from the Exhuming of a Nation. And I'm closing out because I got to go to our other meeting. And this is from the book, Exhuming of a Nation. So what happened to this new nation? The then 1865 unconscious Moors still left with the efforts of mental slavery were stupefied from Jubellum's blow of denationalization to their head. See Freemasonry. They nor most true Americans had any knowledge of the 13th Amendment's missing 18 sections, nor did the Moorish have a leader born from among them to instruct them back in the true nationality or divine creed of their forefathers. These now freed Moorish people, due to becoming a nation lawfully freed by the 13th Amendment, were now political hostages through the 14th Amendment's application. Yes, 3 years later, 1868, the 14th Amendment of Citizenship was introduced to pacify the Democratic-controlled Congress, but in fact placed the Moorish under the assumable jurisdiction of the United States courts and Union States jurisdiction. 2 years later, 1870, the right of suffrage, 15th Amendment, gave the Moorish the temporary privilege to vote, which in the year 2007 would take an act of Congress to approve another 30-year voters grant. See 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment for this section. But without a nationality, the Moorish cannot be truly citizens of the United States or any other free national government. These latter two amendments were contingent upon the state-enforced use of the illegal slave labels of Negro, Black, and Color. In essence, the freed Moorish were being transferred to new Union owners during this 5-year period. Then the Reconstruction period was in full effect and lasted until 1880. What was being reconstructed was the usurpation of Moorish lands, birthrights, and inheritance. Most of these were stipulated in the original 13th Amendment. Also, there were massive book burnings concerning the true history of the Moors in northwestern and southwestern hemisphere. Reconstruction not only included the forced illiteracy and miseducation of the Moorish, but the enforcement of the false god and mythical white supremacy by the grand protectors of the Albion English, the KKK. Then the old wars began. The Roman and Ottoman Empire were reconstructed, and quick lynching of the Moorish for mating or the eye of the pale-skinned woman was classified as honor and not a crime. The code name for this is called Tubal Cain, the mix that kills the dragon, see Freemasonry, because the Albions would lose their existence in an amalgamated war with the Moorish. What is a new era of time now? About every 2,000 and 2,200 years, the cherubim and seraphim that guard the 26,000-year body of the sun solar stations were introduced to man a new era of time. These increments are called cycle ages, or increments are called cycle ages, and mark another period of advancements and enlightenments to the souls of men. At the cusp of every cycle age, since the fall of man, a major prophet is manifested through the most oppressed nation, tribe, and family at the time. 2,000 years ago, Yehoshua, Isa, Jesus, was born amongst the Israelites who were under the Roman Greco oppression of Palestine, and introduced the Piscean age when man would learn his world by water. On January 8, 1886, Noble Drew Ali was born among a clean and pure nation of Moorish Americans who were living in the terrors of mental slavery under the jurisdiction of constitutional amendments of the United States. Being a major prophet, Noble Drew Ali declared into existence the new Aquarian age, where the minds of men will be broadened in his travels, air, and space, exclaiming, "This is a new era of time now. All men now must worship under their own vine and fig tree. That which was would be no more." He told the Moors, "You are just plain rich." What happened to the new nation? They were submerged into false citizenry of a colorable freedom under the nationless guise of outlawed slave names. In layman terms, the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments gave the power to the United States to extend slavery under the perpetuation and control of forced labeling of antiquated slave names, Negro, Black, and Color, via birth certificates and all documents of states wherein they reside. See the 14th Amendment. What President Abraham Lincoln knew that his assassins did not know was to not free the Moorish with full compensation and slavery rights restored, and to extend slavery legally abolished. Right? It says a defiant act to the command of the great God Allah. Hence, in 1887, his harbinger, Marcus Mosai Garvey, was born in Jamaica. And in the year 1897, Elijah Poole Bey Muhammad was born in the state of Georgia. All three were angels and were sent by Allah to redeem the Moorish and to enforce his laws ordained since the ancient times. The divine Trinity is the manifest of wisdom, will, and love. See Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 10, ayats 14 through 24. Together called the Moorish Divine and National Movement, whose destiny is guided only by Allah. For all those who adopt the infinite oneness of the Holy Prophet, the Harbinger, and the Messenger need to only look inward to see this is truly the table that has been prepared for the Moorish in the presence of their enemy. There is no stone left unturned. Noble Drew Ali said, "I have brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourselves. Only love will give one the wisdom to look for the harmonies and likeness in people. Hatred causes one to only see the differences between them. Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It says, as a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, MST of A, Sheikh and Divine Minister Elijah Poole Bey, and this is according to the Moorish records, first donned the fez in the divine and national headdress to the Moorish men of the shores of the northwest and southwest of Africa for the first time. From 1931 to 1935, among his many attempts to distinguish himself and his members, apart from those Moors, Elijah exchanged his bay for Muhammad and added the first quarter moon and star to his fez and asserted the word black as a verb with Asiatics. Notice the Holy Quran in the above photo. Elijah Muhammad also wanted to teach his members from this book without the mandatory know thyself preparatory observance of the Holy Quran of the MST of A as instructed by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The Holy Prophet also said without going through the book of the seven seals, the ex-slaves would be lost in the great Quran of Mecca. And if you Moors aren't careful, your own brother will enslave you again. By the end of 1935, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger, had exclusively forbidden the wearing of the fez by his followers. In honor of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the great works being carried on by his nation of Islam, I extend the following love. There is nothing written in this book intended to discredit the labors, nor the harvesting performed by the NOI or Wallace Dean Muhammad. It should be noted that all MST of A records show as an officer, Sheikh Elijah Poole Bey left in good standing, did not owe anything to any more. And from the author's research, Elijah, and as did his members, he had did them a favor, because many more still dazed from the setting maul of Jubellum and blinded by the marvelous light of Noble Drew Ali had not found their right minds. Worse still, they were in no hurry to find the minds that they had lost. Meanwhile, within his own organization, Elijah Muhammad created the only version of Islam as a black man's religion ever known in history. Nevertheless, today's world can comprehend very little of the works of the infinite wisdom being performed in the land directed by finite minds. Indeed, Brother Elijah Poole Bey, Sheikh Farad Muhammad, Brother Marcus Mosai Garvey were all members of Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple. Need for the sake. The Holy Prophet taught them, and he met them, and all that he met, that our people were Asiatics and Muslims, and that they were not Negro, black, and colored. Why? He brought these truths after he returned to the United States from Arabia. So it goes on, in speaking in many measures, but I'm pressed to close out. And I want to say peace and love to your family, because I got to open up this call. And may the guidance of the ancestors be with you. Islam.